Hi everyone, I'm Leonardo from the YouTube channel Portuguese with Leo, and today I'm going to talk about the often overlooked sibling of the Spanish language, Portuguese. I'm going to talk a little bit about the origins of Portuguese, about how it relates to the other Romance languages, and why it sounds the way it does. And I'm going to end the video with a few Portuguese expressions for you to use on your next trip to Portugal. But before we get to all of that, here are some cool facts about the Portuguese language. Portuguese is one of the top 10 most spoken languages in the world. It's number 6 if we go by native speakers, and number 9 if we go by number of total speakers. Aside from the obvious two, Portugal and Brazil, Portuguese is the sole official language in Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and São Tomé and Príncipe. It's also a co-official language in Macau and East Timor, and believe it or not, in Equatorial Guinea, where no one actually speaks it, but it's still an official language. Now, I think we all know that, just like all the other Romance languages, Portuguese developed from Vulgar Latin, which is the name given to all the vernacular dialects of spoken Latin throughout the Roman Empire. Eventually, the Western Roman Empire fell, and after its fall during the Middle Ages, different kingdoms started being formed in Western Europe. As these new borders were being drawn, the different forms of Vulgar Latin evolved and developed into languages of their own. Not all of these languages and kingdoms lasted until today, but we know one that did. A kingdom formed in the 12th century on the west coast of the Iberian Peninsula, whose name was Portugal. And thus, the Portuguese language was born. Portuguese became an official language in 1290, and a couple centuries after that it actually became an international language when Portugal kick-started the Age of Discovery and established its global empire. The net result of this global expansion is that of the around 220 million Portuguese native speakers in the world, Portugal, with its 10 million people, only makes up around 4.5% of speakers worldwide. So Portuguese is a Western Romance language, of the Ibero-Romance branch if we want to be more precise. But how does it relate to the other Romance languages? Focusing on the major Romance languages, Spanish is obviously the closest language to Portuguese, and if you know Spanish, you can probably read most things written in Portuguese. However, when it comes to speaking, because Portuguese has a lot more complex phonetics than Spanish, what ends up happening is that Portuguese people can understand Spanish a lot better than Spanish speakers can understand Portuguese. Usually when speakers of these two languages communicate, the Spanish speakers are able to rely on their Spanish, but the Portuguese speakers need to switch to a sort of mix between these two languages that we usually call Portunhol. Portunhol is actually so widely spoken that it could be a language of its own. It's pretty much how Brazilians communicate with the rest of South Americans and how us Portuguese communicate with Spaniards here in the Iberian Peninsula. The French and Italian languages stray a little further from Portuguese, but there's still a certain degree of mutual intelligibility, just not as much as between Portuguese and Spanish. Again, in this case, the Portuguese speakers can usually understand French and Italian to a greater extent than the speakers of these languages can understand Portuguese. And then there's Romanian, which is a Romance language with heavy Slavic influence and therefore sounds and reads quite different, and I don't think we can really understand each other. I've only met a handful of Romanians in my life, and we resorted to speaking English. Now, and since I mentioned Slavic languages, it's time to address a question that people eventually ask themselves when they come across Portuguese. Why does it sound like Russian or Polish? If you ever heard spoken Portuguese and this was the first thing you thought, don't worry because you're not alone. Even I sometimes get confused, and I've found myself wondering whether or not people are speaking Portuguese when I hear a Slavic language being spoken from afar. This is not because of any historical reason or connection with Slavic countries or anything like that. It's just because somehow Portuguese, especially the variety spoken in Portugal, developed certain characteristics that other Romance languages don't have, but Slavic languages do. One of these characteristics is the timing. European Portuguese, just like Russian and other Slavic languages, is stress-timed. This means that we jump from stress syllable to stress syllable at regular intervals, causing the unstressed syllables in the middle to kind of squeeze together and become shorter. This comes at the expense of vowels that we tend to reduce, sometimes to the point of not pronouncing them at all. The other Romance languages, on the other hand, are syllable timed, which means that every syllable in a word, regardless of whether it's stressed or unstressed, usually has the same duration, and there's no vowel reduction. Okay, this is a lot of theoretical mumbo jumbo to explain why Portuguese sounds the way it does, so let's look at an example to make it clearer. And we're going to use the word cholesterol for this. If we listen to this word in Spanish, French, or Italian, we'll see that every syllable has more or less the same duration. Colesterol, colesterol, colesterolo. But then in Portuguese, colesterol. As you could hear in Portuguese, the unstressed vowels were reduced to the point of disappearing, and the unstressed syllables were shortened. The word has 4 syllables, colesterol, but we really only hear 2, colesterol. And I picked this word, cholesterol, because it also features 2 important sounds that set Portuguese apart from the other Romance languages, making it sound much more Slavic. The sh and l sounds. Portuguese features a lot more sh sounds in the place of the s sound than the other Romance languages, and our l is what is called the dark l, as opposed to the light l of the other Romance languages. L. So let's listen to the word cholesterol again to spot these sounds. Colesterol, colesterol, colesterolo, colesterol. It's pretty clear which one's the odd one out. Okay, Leo, we know you're a big nerd and love talking about languages and history and all of that good stuff, but I think the people watching us have had enough of that and actually want to learn some actual Portuguese. You're right. It's time to learn some Portuguese. And we're going to start with the easiest, most useful, and probably the most mispronounced word by foreigners, hola. Hola means hello, and it's so similar to its Spanish equivalent that most foreigners that come to Portugal usually end up pronouncing it hola. But that's Spanish. In Portuguese, it's not hola, it's hola. You can follow up your hola with tudo bem. Tudo bem means everything okay, and it's usually used as a how's it going? Olá, tudo bem? If someone asks you how it's going, olá, tudo bem? And things are going well, you can reply with a simple yes, sim. Notice that while the word sim ends with an M, you don't actually pronounce it. It's more like a smiley vowel, sim. Your lips never touch. Now that we know how to say yes, we got to learn how to say no. Não. It's a bit of a tougher one because it's nasal. And to be able to pronounce it correctly, you got to do this with your nose and go não. Just remember that yes is a happier, more positive word, and no is a grumpier word. Sim, não. If olá is not enough for you and you want some more diversity in your greetings, you can say bom dia in the morning, boa tarde between lunch and dinner, and boa noite in the evening and at night. If you want to thank someone, then the word you need to use is obrigado if you're a man and obrigada if you're a woman. If you really want to thank them, then you just add muito before the thank you word. Muito obrigado or muito obrigada. This means thank you very much. And finally, when saying goodbye, we usually say either adeus or simply ciao. But if you want a bit more of a challenge, you can say até a próxima, which means until next time. And on that note, I too say goodbye. I hope you liked this video. I hope you were entertained and learned something new. And if you're thinking about learning Portuguese, make sure to check out my YouTube channel, Portuguese with Leo. All my videos are in Portuguese, but they do all have English subtitles, so there's really no excuse. Muito obrigado e até a próxima.